Hey, it's Matt Pinfield. This is KLOS New and Approved, and I'm really excited to have Tobias, who is the mastermind and creator behind Ghost. Ghost are a band that we play on KLOS all the time, and we love these guys. They have a new track out that we've been playing, which is called Harvest Moon from the Halloween Kills soundtrack. Well, actually, played in the movie, but not in the actual soundtrack, but that's all that really matters. It's a great song. Tobias, welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm doing well. I'm happy to have you on the show. It's been a while. When's the last time that you were out in L.A.? Last time we were at a show, I ran into you. It was, like I said, Bush, Stone Temple Pilots, and the Cult. And have you been in the States lately at all?
No, last time I was stateside was we played in Mexico City in March 2020.
Yeah.
That was the wrap. That was like
Yeah.
the wrap of the tour.
Yeah.
And after that, I went to LA and to work on Hunter's Moon. Actually, the track. I was just there for a few days. Was in the studio for a couple of days. I went to see Opeth at the Palladium. That was the last show that I saw before COVID. And then I went home, and ever since I've been in Sweden.
Tell me about, that last time that you were down, you were at the Forum, and that was kind of literally the seed that was planted. There was someone that was involved in film for doing this track for Harvest Moon. There was somebody that you met that worked with a film company? Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, the meeting itself wasn't at the show. I remember Ryan was there. We had met before. We were sort of acquainted before that, I believe. But then we went to dinner at some point later. And that's when we started talking about, first it was very loose. It was more like, would you entertain the idea of writing music for film? And I was like, yes, that would be really cool. I have friends who are, immensely like, writing scores like Tyler Bates and who's like that's his full-on profession, writing big orchestral. So I definitely don't kid myself into thinking that's like something that you just, just phone in. So I was like, yeah, I would love to explore that at some point, but it's like what do you mean? Like you mean a track or like a soundbite? Or he was like, yeah, well, I don't know, if you want to, it could be like a snippet of music, it could be like a ghost track, it could be anything. And I was like, and he also mentioned like, yeah, we're making another Halloween movie. As a matter of fact, I do have a track that could probably fit. The track didn't exist at the time. I only had the title, Hunter's Moon. But when he said Halloween, it said like, that could be a really cool fit. That track, that title that I had was, just a title at the time. But when he said Halloween film, a track, that could be something along the lines of My Man Behind the Mask or something like that. It was just then it sort of fell in quite quickly into my head, like what to do with it. So I sort of sold that to him, like, I have a track for you.
Yeah. We should explain to everybody Ryan and what Ryan does. Ryan is, of course, the director. He's worked on a bunch of other things. Can you tell everybody what about Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan Turek is, he's one of the producers, basically, I guess. He's with the production company, Blumhouse.
Yeah.
And so what does he do? He oversees the production of, I don't know if he does each film they do, but I think that he was definitely, obviously, involved with the Halloween films. But I know he does a lot of their other films as well.
Like The Purge, things like that. I know he was involved. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that. And, talk to me about this song, too, because, I was hearing that there was, you were listening to Neil Young's Harvest Moon album, and there was, can you tell me about that?
I wasn't listening to the album making that song. It was more that I I was listening to it, Neil Young at some point, and came to think of the track Harvest Moon, and I was like, what does that mean? Like, what's the meaning of the track, and what's the meaning of the title? And that sort of happened not in writing. It was just like, well, I do that all the time. I sit, read, and just sort of just dive into whatever pops into my head. In whatever texts I read about the concept of harvest moon, a harvest moon, right next to that I saw hunter's moon, because it's in a solar or a moon calendar, and I saw hunter's moon there, and I was like, that's a really cool title. I'm going to write that down on my titles to use in the future list. And that happens all the time. Like I read something, I hear something, I've always done that. Whenever I see films or TV or sit and watch news, and I hear a phrase, and just write that down because it sounds good.
Yeah,
and that sort of stems up to something.
And eventually that works out into building out to a song, which is really cool, or a concept, which is great. So talk to me about this new Iron Maiden, this mobile game. It's amazing. I love the fact that the Dance Macabre, and they included Ghost in here. Tell me about how that whole thing came about with Iron Maiden and that game.
They asked me if I were interested in lending the character out, and it's as simple as that. It's usually not more complicated than that. You get a question, and it's yay or nay. Yes, I'm interested in hearing what you're going to do and what you're interested in doing, and then they proposed an idea that sounded fun, and within the realms of feasible, and obviously we have obviously a professional kinship with Iron Maiden, but also as a music fan who's very inspired by Iron Maiden and their imagery and lore and their history and their music. Obviously, it was a great honor to be asked to participate, even though my participation wasn't it didn't require much attendance.
But it's still really cool. I think it's great. It was really exciting to see. It made so much sense to me. You know what I mean? For Ghost and Iron Maiden to be together there. It was really cool. And a great track too, with Dance Macabre. So I love that. And I wanted to also talk to you about, the Metallica Blacklist, because I know you're obviously fans of Metallica and they're fans of yours. Tell me how that came about, and was it exciting to actually do that track? And was it challenging in any way? Because, obviously, with a track like Enter Sandman and something off the Black Album, you have to take a certain approach to it. Tell me about that entire experience, Tobias.
Well, the entire experience started earlier. A few years prior to recording it, we were asked to participate in their what do you call, like, their inauguration. They were given the Polar Music Prize, which is that was a prize, that is a prize given out by the royal family here in Sweden. So it's very sort of up there. It's very prestigious. It's very nice. You get that for long, faithful service, and it's a really prestigious award. I got the news that Metallica was going to be given one, and are you interested in participate? I was just, yes, of course, I want to do that. I'd love to honor them. What do you want? Like, what do you want us to do? And quickly, I started sort of like going through like, oh, what are we going to do now? Because it's like, at that point, I don't think I had an ambition to record a Metallica cover. As anyone playing metal, that you spend a few years in the beginning of your career, your the school of playing in a band. I think most people after 1983 or 4, if you played in a heavier metal band, you have played Metallica songs. That's like rudimentary. But ever since, I haven't sort of played that in bands, and simply because it's almost sort of holy ground in the sense that their songs are so done, like they are complete. They're like Kubrick's, like Stanley Kubrick films of metal. Like you don't do a remake of Shining. I know that there exists one, but you don't do that, and you don't fuck around with their tracks. So halfway through the conversation I had about just being asked the question, I was like, God, what am I gonna do? Like, and they were like, well, we are we're very keen on you opening up the whole program, and we want you to play Enter Sandman. We demand, basically. Well, it's a demand. We demand that. And I felt, as you always do when that happens, it's like cornered. But towards the end of the conversation, I'd sort of quickly gone through my options in my head in terms of what other songs would I insist on. Nothing really. And well, I could come up with something in Enter Sandman that actually left a little bit of room for interpretation. Most of Metallica's, the rest of their repertoire, especially at least from their first 5 albums, most tracks are very heavily riff based. And the riffs are very particular, so you can't really interpret them in a way that would be more enticing or more exciting. But in Enter Sandman, obviously you have a riff from hell, but it also had a melodic feature that I had, a sort of a feeling that there's a chord progression underneath the vocal lines that could work in my favor in this sense. So I said, yes, we're going to do that. I'm committing to doing Enter Sandman on your TV show, and that's going to be great. It feels good to fuck. And then I was like, God damn it, what am I going to do now? We really need to sort of make this fly. So I went into a studio, sort of cut a demo of what I heard in my head, and that sounded really good. Like the demo was like it felt fluent. But then fast forward to the TV show, you always get that little like, what if it's not good? What if they hate it? What if we're really desecrating like their biggest song. Anyway, we're on. We have to do this now, and that turned out really well, I think. And so a few years later, when we were asked to do the Blacklist, it felt natural to just do that again, because I had no real vision to do any other track.
And you had already worked through that. Like you'd already worked that out for the royal family and for that big award, which was
exactly. So I and also it's worth mentioning that since upon being asked to do the Blacklist, it was also it came already on the request and the inquiry of doing it in the first place, it came with the request of also pointing whatever money would generate towards charity. And that also felt very natural to sort of keep that track, because it also fitted very well with what with the charity that I would like to push. You know, so it wasn't like a whole. I wasn't like contemplating a lot. It just felt like very natural to just make a really good recording of what we've already set out to do, and it would fit very well into the narrative of our choice of charity.
That's great. You know, and I think about it because, you know, when I was turned on to your band, two people told me about Ghost when I was with Duff McKagan, who's a friend of mine from, you know, Guns N' Roses, obviously. We were walking down the street in New York City, and I said to him, what are you listening to? He asked me what I was listening to. And we were doing a charity event, speaking of that, and we were, and he goes, he was looking for something at the drugstore, and I remember it because we took a walk, and he goes, there's this new band, Ghost. Have you heard them yet, Matt? And I said, no, I read something. He goes, you got to listen to him, man. And he explained you guys to me. And Duff McKagan said he was a huge fan. And the next person was Lars from Metallica. So those are the two guys that I know that were the first two people to tell me that I had to listen to Ghost. So it just makes complete sense. You know what I mean? It's great that you guys did that. Is that interesting? I have to ask you this, Tobias. So for like the royal family and, you know, who are the heads of the country in Sweden, are they really proud of how big Ghost has become worldwide now? Because, I mean, the band is blown up in such an incredible way and has such a devoted fan base, especially right here. You know, I mean, the shows you've done in LA are incredible. How are they? What's the response over there? How has that been? Are they really, really proud of the band?
Are you talking about the royal family?
Yeah. Are they aware?
I think they're aware. Prince Daniel came to one of our shows when we were playing at a later point. You know, which is, and I know that they also came around for, obviously that was a Metallica show. Daniel came for one of our own shows, and then probably later, I know that the princess, the queen princess, she was there with her husband Daniel when we played with Metallica, as well, like later. So I've seen them around a couple of times. I'm sure they're aware of who we are. If they are proud or not, I do not know.
Yeah, well, they should be. Anyway, but you know what's exciting?
They should be.
Yeah, that's how I feel. All right, you've made 4 great albums. I know right now you're working on new material for the next one. Maybe we'll see a great new album next year. But let's talk about the tour, because it's exciting that you guys are hitting the road again. You're going to be playing in Anaheim here in LA, but you're going to be out with Volbeat, so it's a great double bill. Are you excited to get out on the road after all that time you've been spending at home during the pandemic? And is it going to be? Is there something? Are you just excited to get out on the road? Are we going to see just an incredible show like we usually do?
I mean, it's going to be a different show. It's going to be a new show, which I'm really excited about. Right now, we're in the middle of sort of preparing for that and trying to get everything in order to basically work out with having another band on tour. You know, we're splitting the time and we're splitting a lot of production with them. And I'm super excited about getting back on the road again. As much as I'm really appreciative of the time that I've gotten home now, as a father of 2, married man, 10 years on the road was hard on domestic life. So being home for some time was actually very good. It felt very reinvigorating. But then obviously my calling, my professional calling and my soul is touring uh, sort of vagabondish life. So this is, I've been blessed with the carte blanche from, not from above, I guess, but from underneath, to play for a living. So that's what I do. That's where I excel. That's where that's where I belong.
Yeah.
So I feel I feel very content now, looking forward to would hopefully be a few years of touring coming up.
Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to having you here. It's going to be great. One last question for you, Tobias. I wanted to ask you, what have you been listening to lately? Because the first time I interviewed you back in 2016, we talked about so many different types of music, and I loved your diversity. So what has been on your playlist lately? Like while you're home, what kind of things have you been listening to? Old or new? What's been on?
I must say that one thing that happened relatively recently, I used to read a lot.
Yeah.
And the older I've gotten, the less I read, which is irritating. It's simply because I'm doing things all the time. So I've gotten to read less, which is annoying. And then years after everybody else started doing it, my wife was like, "Why don't you just get Storytel?" Which is like an app for
like Audible
for,
here.
yeah, for Audible books. Yeah. And as soon as I started doing that, I'm just plowing through books. Like, I don't know, if last month I probably listened to 20 or something like that. So that takes a lot of my time, just listening to books all the time. When I listen to music, it can be really anything. What was the last thing I listened to? Like yesterday, was like an old Swedish death metal record with a band called Cemetery.
Yeah.
And then I listened to Merciful Fate, but then after that I listened to I don't remember exactly. It was something. Yeah, I listen to a lot. I mean, throughout my life, I've always had a very mixed bag of things that I like. Usually, when I'm at home, I get so little time to listen to things because there's constantly someone at home.
And you're
so
a dad.
What usually happens is, yeah, I'm a dad, and so the few moments when I'm alone, I'm like, sadistic execution, and then because I just want to hear it really loud and just like because I or something really proggy and really, because that's the sort of music that sort of disturbs everyone else.
Yeah.
So I usually grab that time to listen to things that I know that people will just complain.
What prog bands do you like? What prog stuff do you like? You like any prog classics or current?
I like a lot of the like classic big bands as well. I mean, obviously like Pink Floyd and Yes and Genesis and stuff like that. But I listen to, like, a lot of my favorite more eclectic records are Italian prog records from the early 70s. So I'm and those records aren't just fun to collect just because they're rare and hard to get and all that, but they're also really good. Some of them are fantastic. There's this whole scene in the 70s where these incredibly gifted musicians made records, and obviously one of the most known bands from that era. I mean, internationally it was PFM, I guess.
Yeah.
And IPOO was like more of the poppy version of that. But what one band that most people that are into more eclectic music know of is Goblin. But there are 15, 20 other bands that are even better. Like, in Goblin, it's fucking great.
Yeah.
But stuff like that, it's really musical, and if you are into, or if you've tried to do some eclectic European music from the 70s You might have halted on krautrock and not find that too exciting. Italian prog rock is definitely way, 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 way more
Yeah,
musical.
absolutely. And you know, those records are unbelievably expensive now to find, collect in good shape, right? You know, because I have friends who there's a series, you know,
Yeah,
Discogs is that you know, that place to order, and you know, when they find them, they're, you know, people are very excited about it. My friends who are
you can
huge
listen
rock
to them
fans.
though without buying them for a lot of money. You can
Yeah,
listen to the material.
yeah,
um, and it's up there on Spotify, most of it, I think. Or if you don't find it on Spotify, you'll find it on YouTube, and
yeah,
a lot of the really good records you can find there, and they're enjoyable in that format as well.
yeah.
Um, so that's one thing I like a lot. I'm a huge buff for old death metal and black metal and um, trash metal and stuff like that. A lot of that is sort of extreme. I like a lot of punk as well. Um,
Who are your favorite punk records and bands?
hmm, I'd say probably. I mean, Sex Pistols. Obviously, the record
Yeah,
is. I grew up with that.
yeah,
Another band that also is very much in line with my upbringing is The Damned.
yeah,
So their
yeah,
first record and like Damn Damn Damn,
yeah.
and then Machine Gun Etiquette.
That's a great one too.
R-
I just can't be happy
yes,
today and all smash
yeah,
it up. Those songs are great, man. I love that album. Such a great
yeah.
record. You know?
Misfits, Ramones, Motorhead, obviously
Yeah.
a little bit more metal leaning band, but uh, what else? There are a few Swedish bands that you might not have heard of, but that's definitely, in the backbone of most people if you're my age or older. Um, I like a lot of that sort of um, if you get like the best of punk rock 1977 to 1980, a lot of those sort of hits are the sort of music that I grew up listening to with my brother, who was, he was also a very, very big fan of most things. He would also like rave about, how cool the Damned were, they were at the time, and then he would put on Eurythmics, and then he would you know put on a Rainbow record.
Yeah. So all over the place, like
And
we are. We're music fans. We just, right? I think it's
yeah,
great.
and that definitely rubbed off on me, like the I guess everything is sort of within the rock genre,
Yeah.
rock and pop. But yeah,
I
I
love
listened to a lot of that.
and I love that because it definitely comes out in your melodies too, which I think is really cool. You know what I mean? You can hear all those influences in what you do, and I think that's really important. Those melodies that's great, like you said, and even all those great punk records had great melodies. You know what I mean? It was what it was about, and
Yeah,
you know. But listen,
one band that actually I like a lot, that I don't think people mention a lot, but that has also was a big influence on me, and I feel close to in terms of wittiness as well as sort of melodic language and humor, was the Dickies.
oh,
The Dawn of the Dickies is like one fucking bomb of a record. That's so good.
I'm gonna tell
Uh,
Stan Lee because he's my friend, the guitar player. I'm gonna tell him
oh,
that you said that.
please do.
Yeah,
Oh, I love that. In my we we in my old band, we used to play Infidel Zombie,
yeah.
the cover of that, and yeah, I don't think people notice, but like Dawn of the Dickies is like you can hear a lot of uh, Ghost in there, like, or the other way around. You can hear a lot of Dickies in Ghost, but people don't take it. People don't notice it for some reason. But the melodic language. Another melodic band that I've also take a lot of influence off of. People don't know it. People don't seem to pay attention to that either. Is Bad Religion.
Yeah, great band.
Um, oh, fantastic!
I'll just tell you this.
Very
Oh, go ahead.
sorry.
I want you to finish saying what you feel about Bad Religion because that's great. I love to hear why you love them.
No, but musically, lyrically, But also like the vocal harmonizing and all that is also very like very sort of latter part of the 80s and early 90s Bad Religion. So a lot of my singing sort of comes off of singing their songs.
That's great. You know, I'll tell you something. I know you got to go soon, but I thought something that I thought you would get a kick out of and like to check out. So Stan Lee from the Dickies, Greg Hetson, guitarist from Bad Religion and the Circle Jerks. They do a thing called Punk Rock Karaoke, and it's online. You can find it on YouTube. But there's a version of me singing Ace of Spades with those guys ripping it, and the Motorhead fans loved it because it was like they were like, if Motorhead fans didn't like it, they would have crucified me. But they're like, holy shit, he can do Lemmy, great. So it's really funny. If you get a chance online, look it up on YouTube. Punk Rock Karaoke.
Oh,
yeah.
Just because you mentioned Greg Hudson, I need to. One of the funniest things I've seen in terms of picks.
Yeah.
I'm not a big pick collector, but over the years I've grabbed a pick or two. And I saw them. I don't remember which year this was. It was in the 2000s at some point, and they did their show, and then after the show, I saw a pick on the floor, and I took it up, and it said, "Return." It found return to Greg Hudson, which is like, yes, that's so funny.
It is, because that's his sense of humor. That's his sense of humor. Yeah. You know that, right? It's so funny.
I loved it. It was just like, and so the first thing you mentioned when you said his name was like, came to think of that.
I'm going to tell both those guys today that you said that. I'm going to, because I talked to those, they're like my brothers.
Oh, please do. Yeah. But both of their bands have been like super influential. Circle Jerks is also a band I like. And I think that a lot of the punk elements of my writing and my background might not be, in super focus when I speak about music, because it's not that apparent, but a lot of, I think a lot of the humoristic element of writing, if that makes sense, comes from the punkish attitude and my way of singing that is, obviously debated if it's metal or not. No, it's punk.
Yeah.
It's like I sing like a lot of punk bands. I sing a lot like, a lot of the punk bands that I like. But I'm also, the thing is that I'm also very influenced by a lot of female fronted bands. Blondie, Patti Smith, and Tori Amos, and stuff like that. So a lot of my musical influences and way of writing and way of singing actually comes from mimicking female vocals.
That's great, and they're all amazing, by the way. Those are all incredible people and singers, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great. Tobias, I always love that. That's one of the things that from our very first conversation was really, it struck me, was just your love of so many different styles of music, and I really commended that, because that's just the way I love music, and I think, it's, and the fact that you talk about all the different things that you have inspired you, I think is also very cool. I think it's great that you do. So people will check out some of those other things too, that are fans of yours, and I love that. But listen, Tobias, it was great. Thanks for taking the time today, and I'll see you when you get to Los Angeles. I'm looking forward to it, man.
I am as well. Thank you very much for having me today, and I'm really looking forward to coming back and to see you there.
Yeah, it'll be great. Tobias, take care, man. Thanks for taking your time and checking in with us today from Sweden. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much. Tobias, everybody. How great was that? Tobias from Ghost. And you have been watching New and Approved. It's Matt Pinfield, KLOS. Thanks so much for watching.